Good morning. Ella Kokotsis, I'm with News Desk Media, based out of England. Question, one for James and one for Andy. James, you mentioned the importance of the G20 coming up with a statement on a banking union. And I'm wondering if you think this is really the place to do it, if the G20 should be making a statement on a banking union, or if that should be reserved for the European summit, which is going to happen in a couple of weeks from now. And Andy, your point about IMF resources, you mentioned that the BRICS are stepping up and that's a good thing. What about this North American union that we're seeing between Obama and Harper, where they're pulling back and saying, you know, the IMF is not the place, and really those funds need to be reserved for developing countries and not to bail out Europe. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Let's go to Jim.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I agree. I mean, I'm not so naive as to believe that the Eurozone members that are here can or will pre-commit their Eurozone partners to specific undertakings. I think that's quite natural not to expect that. But what I think is very important is a clear message that that they're aware of the severity of the situation and that measures will be coming. I think as we're seeing in the fallout from the Greek election, I mean, it was very welcome news, obviously, but it did not last. The relief rally did not last very long. That Spanish bond yields very quickly hit a euro area high, and so that, again, I think that's an indication of the extent to which there is this uncertainty that hangs over the global economy, that clouds economic prospects going forward. And as I say, there is a need for leaders, the G20, the Euro, at the European level, to start sending clear messages that this problem will be resolved, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, on the IMF question, I mean, I think this is why status has to be brought in. If we go back to Pittsburgh, there was a deal in terms of sort of a rearrangement of global governance. And even though certainly you can criticize China and other countries, I think the signal that they want to put more money in says that they want to have this quid pro quo. And I think this is the huge difference between Canada and perhaps other countries that in some ways are defensive but also sort of status quo. Easy with their banking regulation, certainly don't feel the need to be overly generous with Europeans that have a fairly, not only adequate lifestyle, but in some ways a very golden lifestyle. So in that regard, I think the two different sections of the G20 are in very different situations. Canada isn't striving. I think they are striving to get into the Pacific free trade deal. And of course, that's where you see a very different type of diplomatic action taking place. And of course, of new forms of coalitions that really force Canada to do things perhaps in a different way than they've done in the past. But once more, the BRICS, I think the central game for them is to get that trade-off in terms of global governance. And that, I think, is very much directing their approach.